Hello, I'm Dr. Penny Reed, and I would like to welcome you today to our webinar. It's the second in a series on administrators as allies in improving AT services. And today's presenters are Maggie, Judson, and Jeanna Antrim, who are both SLPs and work for the Belleville Area Special Ed Co-op in Southern Illinois, where they are AAC facilitators. And I am thrilled to have them present today because about a year ago, I got to hear them present at Closing the Gap. And I was so honored to know that they had attended a session Gayl and I had done at a conference the previous year and taken that information and really put it into practice. And so often we hear that we're kind of wasting our time doing a 1-hour session somewhere. I wanted to highlight the fact that that's just not true. That sometimes you touch a chord for someone and then they can do wonderful things with it. And I'm hoping that that will happen for you today, that you'll get some ideas that will really change what you do. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Maggie and Jeanna.
Hello, thank you, Penny. All right, so welcome everyone. As I mentioned, we're going to be doing the part 2 of this series, and Maggie and I today are going to really be talking about how we took what Penny and Gayl have done and written in their book and what we saw them present on, and how we are using it to help us increase family, school team, as well as administrative AC and AT involvement with the co-op that we work at.
Yes, hi. So I'm Maggie Judson. I'm an SLP and an ATP. I work for the Belleville Area Special Services Cooperative as an AAC facilitator. And we have our financial and non-financial disclosures here. So for financial, salary from employment, and then we also received a stipend from AbleNet for presenting today. And then non-financial disclosures, I'm a member of ASHA and the SIG 12 of RESNA and USAC. And then Penny, you forgot to say when we said to introduce us that we're huge fans of Penny and Gayl, and it's been so exciting to work with them through this. And then yes, Penny, when you came to our presentation at Closing the Gap last year, I don't know, I think we talked about this, but we were up there presenting and, we had all of our notes, we're ready to go. And then I got so nervous that you were in the crowd there. And Jeanna, even later, she was like, you did get nervous. I was like, I know, Penny.
I think it's the only time I've seen her that nervous.
So we're so excited here today. We won't get nervous, but we will probably, be asking you guys questions and things will come up in the chat. So.
All right, and I'm Jeanna Antrim. I'm also an SLP and AC facilitator for the Belleville Area Special Services Co-op. I get salary from Basque for working there, and I'm also receiving a stipend for presenting. And then I'm a member of ASHA and USAC as my non-financial.
All right, so a little bit of what we're going to talk about today from the title, we'll be spending our time talking about capacity building, and we're really going to be hitting in on creating administrators as your allies, taking the information that Gayl and Penny talked about the last presentation and talking about how we've adapted it for us and the takeaways, things that we've learned along the way. We'll also be going through and talking about families, how we're supporting our families to help build up capacity there, and then also our school teams. And then we'll have time for questions at the end, but please feel free to pop them in the chat whenever they come up. Learning objectives. At the end of this, we hope you can analyze your current system and identify one idea of a capacity building strategy to implement back in your setting, identify one resource to help you guide or plan a capacity building idea, and then discuss 3 ways to build capacity around AAC or AT for your teams back at your setting.
All right, so just a little bit of background so that you kind of know where we're coming from as we work through today's presentation. But we do work for the Belleville Area Special Services Co-op. We're right outside of St. Louis. We're in Metro East St. Louis area on the Illinois side. And so we are a co-op. So we have 23 member school districts within Illinois that are a part of our co-op that we serve. And within that, there's about 60 schools, a little over 29,000 students, and a little over 5,000 of those have IEPs. And we have, for our programs, we do have certain programs that serve certain students who have more of the moderate to severe, profound disabilities. They may need to have a little bit more of a step into one of our more confined classrooms. And so we have 41 of those, but that keeps growing. I think actually now it might be 45. So we're definitely a growing program and growing district and co-op. But Maggie and I represent our whole AT department. We also have an assistant who is our Wonder Woman, and she helps us out as well. But we are responsible for providing assistive technology consultations. We do evaluations as well. We do some direct therapy. We have equipment maintenance that we take care of. We also house a lending library at Bask that has a plethora of equipment for assistive technology and AZ that our districts can loan out from us. And then a big part of our job is trainings, and we provide those ongoing trainings to our co-op as well. All right, and so we're gonna start a poll up here because we would, we would like to know who is here. Let me go back. All right.
All right, so.
It should have, I believe that should just pop up on your screen and you should be able to, oh yeah, there we go. So
Yeah,
lots of
perfect.
assistive technology specialists are here, some OTs, PTs, SLPs,
Oh, some
some
family members.
parents, special educators.
And administrators, don't forget administrators.
Administrators. Oh, you have
No?
to scroll
Oh,
down.
there it is. It's down the bottom. It wasn't showing up. Thank you, Gayl. Yes, we have some administrators and some others.
So, and then this chat, more than one role, OT and AUTP together. So yeah, I think probably that's very common, right? Where you are splitting, splitting your time between 2 or more jobs.
Yeah,
so great, we have a
sure.
nice mix of people here. So we'll get lots of good perspectives and insights, I'm sure, as we go.
Yeah. And welcome again, everybody. We're so glad that you're here with us today. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end the
good.
poll.
Oh, and a paraeducator.
Nice, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, there's that. We'll keep moving on here. There we go.
It's on my screen. It's up. Can I?
Still up? I stopped sharing
look,
it.
I clicked it off. It was just on mine.
Okay.
I fixed it. All right. So capacity building. Thanks everyone for doing that so that we have an idea of who is here. So capacity building. Jeanna, if you would want, we could flip to the next one and I'll go into that. All right. So capacity building. What does capacity building mean? So like when Jeanna was going through kind of our role in our cooperative, since we are doing a lot of specific trainings and evaluations and trialing, specifically, you know, AT, but AAC, a lot of augmentative alternative communication devices, there definitely is a need and a reason to have that expert type of a model. So, you know, we do help a lot with evaluations and things, but then looking at the implementation stage and helping our teams grow their own skills, we really wanted to analyze ourselves and think through how we were providing our AT services so that we could develop more of that capacity building. And that's where you're really getting everybody feeling comfortable and involved in the IEP team so that they feel that they don't have to wait for you to come there and tell them what to do or show them what to do or come and make those decisions. We want it to be everybody on the team feeling comfortable and confident with that ultimate goal then that AT needs for the student is going to be embedded in their day when they need it. So we really like some of these points from what a capacity building model means from the NATE network, the National Assistive Technology and Education Network. So we really like these, and these are the ones that kind of stuck out to us as we were reading through. So what does capacity building means? It means you're developing sustainable AT services. If the only way things are getting done is through an expert model, it is can be difficult to keep AT services sustainable and manageable and get the needs to the student during their day embedded if it's just you and you know everybody else is kind of waiting for that AT person to come and do the things. So it's getting everybody working collaboratively to help that student get their AT services. Building capacity means building administrative support, which the title of these sessions were administrators as allies. So that was a huge thing for us that we're going to get into, but it's really getting your administrators and you working together so that you can get that support right at the top to help that trickle down then to everybody else on the team. Capacity building means providing multiple types of professional development. We know just like as our students learn through different modalities, we as adults do. And if you look at different adult learning theories and principles, we know that we need to be providing lots of different types of professional development to help new ideas and new things stick and take effect. It's about building on-demand resources so that when a question comes up or an issue comes up, staff has a way to get that information right when they need it in the moment, because we know like a lot of good learning can happen that way. And then it's also about reaching out to other stakeholders. So involving everybody in the team, and for us that really we've thought through about for families as well, including them and that other stakeholders. So those are the points that we really liked when we were thinking through capacity building.
Yes, sorry, I was responding to a message in the chat here.
Thank you.
We will get out a different format of the handouts. If they're hard to read, we'll provide a different one after we get done here. Okay, so we really love this quote from Bowser that AT used only in isolation is ineffective. Real use in meaningful activities is the only way that AT can increase and or improve a child's function. And so as Maggie said, like if we just do that expert model, we're not able to be there for all of their students throughout that day. And so we really needed to build up capacity and empower those around us. So this included family members, school teams, but also our administrators, because they have such an impact whenever they walk into a room, and increasing their knowledge on AC and assistive technology can further empower everyone that they come into contact. And that's just going to have a positive impact on our students and their success with communication and ability to access academics throughout their day.
Absolutely. So when we decided that, we decided after going to a great presentation about capacity building that we really wanted to spend some time analyzing ourselves and thinking through. And even for established AT teams, it's a good thing to occasionally reflect and see what changes and what areas you might want to improve or expand upon. So capacity building, thinking through kind of shifting from that expert to a capacity builder, we definitely started with self-reflection and evaluation. You really need to kind of know where you're at, think through, see where you want to make some changes, and
be honest.
Be honest with yourself. But we say, like, do this in a private place where you could, if there's going to be some tears, because when we were doing some self-reflection, we really like the quality indicators for assistive technology, Quiet. They have a great matrices that you can go through to self-evaluate. Through that, we saw, which we'll touch on later, there were some areas that we were not addressing at all. So while at first you're like, oh goodness, we're totally dropping the ball here, and you might be a little sad at first, we decided to reframe it and get excited about the changes that we could make. But definitely start there, because some things that we hadn't thought about popped up through those self-reflections. So we really start there, be honest, like Jeanna said. Then we went to the experts. So we like the NATE network. We're in Illinois, so we have the Illinois Assistive Technology Guidance Manual. We went through that stuff, but we also, for us, this was the game changer. It's Penny and Gayl's book, Leading the Way to Excellence in AT Services. So we went to the experts. We got the book, we read it, we highlighted it, we thought through those things that they laid out in the book. Then we thought how we could work smarter and not harder. So while we were going through that book and we were seeing some of the things that really stuck out to us that we wanted to start implementing, it can get a little overwhelming when you're thinking, like, we're already busy. Now we're going to try to add more things in. So we really wanted to think, like, what were some of the things that we could do that would not take a lot of effort on our behalf, but would give us a good output. It's that like 80-20 rule, right? Like 20% of your inputs or the effort that you're putting in get you 80% of the output or the effect that you're looking for. Then we came up with a plan. So we really thought through, like, what are some of the changes we can do now? And then like over the next year, and then long term. So we kind of thought through like a 3-year plan to make it manageable and sustainable for us. And then that really kind of feeds into, like, at the last session, they talked about the plan, do, study, act. So we could plan something, we could do it, we could see what the outcomes were, what the data was showing us, and then we could reassess what was and wasn't working. So we knew that would take some time. So we definitely came up with like a long-term plan.
And it keeps adding on. We say it's a 3-year plan, but it's really a 3-year plus plan. We keep adding stuff.
Every year, it just is another year added on.
Yeah. So we had a 3-year plan because, as Maggie said, you want, and we're going to focus on this a lot too, you want to give yourself time to really grow. It's going to take time. If you try to do too much too fast, you're just going to burn yourself out. And it can be overwhelming with, like, whenever you do look at the research and look at all the experts and what they have to say, like, it can be a lot that you think you need to undertake. But what you want to do is you really want to not look at everything that you could do, but what can you do now that's going to have the most impact? And so when we were developing our 3-year plan, we kind of did also a 3-prong approach. So what were we going to do for improving and increasing our administrative involvement within the AT and AC realm? And then also, what can we do to further empower and increase our family involvement, and then our school team involvement? And I mean, just looking at this 3-prong approach, you can tell that, like, okay, administrators is where we're going to get the most bang for our buck. So if we can get administrators, increase their knowledge and everything, and their support within this assistive technology realm, that's going to trickle down into our families and our school teams as well. But we're going to talk about things that we were doing and what we're doing now in all 3 of these areas. And we're going to talk, and we're going to be honest with you, what's working, what's not, and what we're doing about it.
We're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, we'll be completely honest with you guys throughout today.
All right, so the first area is administration. So how we're increasing administrative involvement, how we're working, trying to get that collaborative approach. So administrators are our allies. So as a leader of leaders, the administrator has a powerful effect on the performance of staff. I think this is something that we know, but again, I don't think we were really thinking through how that could apply to assistive technology, or getting like everybody on board, because we can go in, we can say things, we can be doing these trainings, we can be doing all of these cool different things, but we are coming at it as a colleague, right? So we're all on the same level, and sometimes that can only go so far. But when your boss comes in and is also talking about these same things and is showing that they find it to be important, that can really set the stage for everybody to be like, oh, AT is on the radar. You know, my administrator finds it to be important. I think that probably means I need to find it important as well. They really can have a strong performance effect on the performance of staff. So let's share some of our
Yeah. So what we were doing within the administrative realm was we would give updates on, you know, AT and AC trainings that were being offered. And usually this was like in passing bys. We'd be like, oh, we're going to have a training on this subject or whatever, or we're going to have our reps come in and do a training on this. It wasn't really, it was very informal and just kind of in a passing by kind of thing. We would make them aware. We would have occasional discussions around our AT needs for some students. So like if we were funding a device and like, hey, we got one funded and everything, and we're getting this new kind of device, or if we were having to troubleshoot something, like he would be a part of some discussions there. But if we're being honest, we really were not addressing this at all, we realized, and we really didn't know. It wasn't the first thing that came to our minds. We really thought like school teams, our teachers and our paraprofessionals were like kind of our first stop, and then related service personnel that also worked with that student. Those were like the people that we were really focusing on prior to starting all of this. We just didn't realize that administrators, even though it does seem so obvious now, could have such an impact. But in the beginning, we weren't addressing it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really was. We didn't realize that. And so it does seem now, like now that we've started, it's like, oh, but taking that step back, like it wasn't something, but we got there by going through those self-reflection forms and analyzing our services. So from those steps that we took, going to the experts, reading up, the things that we now are doing with our administrators to improve that cooperation between us to create allyship is we are working on increasing administrators' assistive technology knowledge. We are working on creating an AT focus and interviews and AT questions during staff evaluations. And then all of those trickling down to help create this overall culture of AT participation that then kind of spreads out and infiltrates everything without you having to like go into the individual teams. It really, you see this like top down approach. It really just trickle down once you start at the top and put some efforts in there.
All right, so we're going to hit each of those areas a little bit more. So increasing our administrators' assistive technology knowledge. So the reason why we did this is because as AT leaders for our organization, it is our responsibility to support our admin in developing their AT vision and just overall knowledge. We'll talk about this a little bit later with school teams too, but for us as SLPs, if you're an SLP that's in here, you graduate and you usually have one grad course in AEC. You may have been lucky enough to have a couple of kids, maybe during your practicums that had AEC, but it's within our scope of practice and we're supposed to be leaders and experts in this area, but we don't graduate really getting that much information on it. And so our administrators definitely aren't graduating from their degrees and everything with this knowledge as well. They're not going to know what they don't know. So as leaders, it's our area to make them more knowledgeable in this area and take time to teach them about the different things and how it can positively impact our students. And then also just make everything a little bit more efficient for all of our teams that we're working with in all the classrooms and everything. So things that we're taking and steps that we're taking to improve their knowledge are that we are, before we said we'd maybe tell them about a training and passing by, but now we're going to them and it's awkward, but we're personally inviting them to our professional development opportunities. So that is part of our job that we do. We do a lot of trainings and it definitely has increased in the amount of trainings that we're providing since we've implemented this program. And so for each one, we are personally inviting them and not just once, but we're going back again and following up on it. Because if they say, oh yeah, maybe, you know, I don't have anything conflicts on the calendar, like we're following up on it with them. And we're not doing it through email like we may have done before, because that is easier and less awkward, but we're personally going to do it because it's harder to turn us down by face than it is in an email. So, and even if they don't come, like this has been how many years, Maggie, but we're still doing it. We're still going, we're still inviting them to the trainings and talking about how it would be beneficial for them to like gain more knowledge in this area. So, and then we've also started something else that helps make approaching them about certain topics a little bit less awkward. We developed a monthly assistive technology department meeting, which has been fabulous because we have a set time that we are meeting each month to specifically talk about the assistive technology department, what we're doing, things that we're seeing, and we can take this time to increase their knowledge. We can talk about equipment and how this equipment could be beneficial for these type of kids, so that way whenever they're out and about, they have that knowledge and can refer back to us and help spread that knowledge to other teams and teachers that they're coming into contact or related service personnel.
So Jeanna, I just want to clarify, does your administrator come to those monthly meetings?
Yes, yes. So it's Maggie and I, our assistant that works with us in the department, and then it's our direct overseeing administrator. Yes, and it's every month. And something else, like we're going to talk about celebrating the wins throughout today's presentation as well. But one of our wins was this year. So it was last year that we started that, Maggie, I think. And then this year he just automatically started putting it back on the calendar for us. We didn't have to ask, we didn't have to initiate that. He just automatically put it on the calendar and our monthly time to meet. So celebrate the small wins that you have and then just keep going and keep growing. But that's how we have been working to increase their knowledge.
Yes, so definitely finding that time to meet, even if it's difficult monthly, try to do it quarterly. For us, like we said, when we were talking to Gayl and Penny later, we're like, we feel kind of silly, like sharing this as one of the strategies, like having a monthly meeting, because it feels like something we should have already known. but we didn't. And now that we've done it, it's like, it gives us such a platform to bring up all of the other things. So one of the things that we bring up constantly is including an assistive technology focus in interviews. So the idea here is that where we're at, we don't sit in on interviews typically. We're not involved in that process. Only administrators have that assigned responsibility and role to recruit staff members who are qualified to provide those services. So we, knowing that we're not in there and we're not going to be asking questions and meeting with the interviewees, we knew from the information that we collected when we were deciding to build up those capacity is to look at and talk to admin about incorporating specific AT questions in interviews. The idea here is that then right out of the gate, when you are interviewing to come work at in our buildings and our programs, you're already going to have on your radar assistive technology. My admin, the guy who interviewed me, and my boss, he already brought up assistive technology. They must find value in that and see the importance of it. So we talked with our admin about doing that. We reviewed some of the hiring practices, like the job announcement and job descriptions, just to see where they would fit in. So, you know, we went to him and we were like, we would really like to maybe talk about putting some questions into interviews. Like, is that, and he's like, yeah, sure, send me some questions. So we just sent some, you know, kind of general questions, you know, nothing hugely specific, things that could work in any role. So, you know, if they're hiring for paraeducators, if you're hiring for special education teachers, if you're hiring related service personnel, they could kind of fit in anywhere. So he was very open to that it wasn't an issue. So we sent those questions, and we keep bringing it up though at every meeting. That way we can just check in, say, you know, how has that been going? You know, what kind of responses are you getting back from people when you ask? Have you, you know, what are your impressions? So again, we don't just bring it up the one time and leave it there. We try to incorporate it in all of our meetings every month so we can keep on top of it and keep talking about the importance of why starting in right from the gate is a good idea and a good fit to kind of create.
And we learned too that we needed to be more specific, remember, because he did it for the speech therapist, the next speech therapist that we hired, but we're like, oh no, we want this for everybody. So it was like a learning curve for us. And that's just why it's great to have those meetings, because we can talk this out and work through it together. All right, so then we also looked at including AT questions on the evaluation. And again, the reason why is, I mean, all of us, when we're getting evaluated and looked at for something, if we know that our administrators are looking for something specific, we're going to make sure that we're doing it, because you want a good evaluation. And so if everybody that works for us at the co-op, if they know that this is going to be a part of their evaluation, they're going to make sure that, you know, the devices are out and about and that they're using them and they're knowledgeable about them and how they can help the students and everything. So we talked this, he was very open to it. We did hit kind of a roadblock though, because our evaluations, it has to go through contracts with the union and everything like that. And they had just been developed whenever we brought this up. And so there could be no official changing of the wording to the evaluation. However, he was definitely open to seeing where it could fit in, and then just being able to have that kind of informal discussion of like, this is where we're going to be looking at this. And like for your kids that have these devices, like this is where this will fit in whenever I come in and do my observation and everything. So as Maggie said, just keep bringing it up, keep talking about it at the meetings, and just increasing the knowledge and the awareness.
And all of this kind of coming together because we're trying to create this overall culture and a shared vision of AT participation. So like we said before, us coming at it just at the school teams and not incorporating this collaboration with our administrators was doing us a disservice, because we can only do so much when you're working, you know, with individual teams and working with your colleagues. So whether or not they are aware of it, administrators set the tone for how AT is valued by staff, whether or not they're aware of it. So we're trying to do all this to make them aware of it, that they have this huge impact on how AT can be viewed in a classroom just by them making it like part of the conversation. So we discussed with them that role and how they can affect perception of AT importance, and we keep bringing it up. So we talked about how kind of awkward that can be, at least it was for us, and they've never given us any reason to feel that way. I think it's just, you know, kind of like, we're like, they're our bosses, so it feels weird. So a couple tips that we have found that helps us is definitely go in with another person. So if you don't already have an established AT team and you're like, you know what, I'm taking on this role because I'm invested in it and I find it important, find another person. Like find that OT that really cares about it too, or find that special education teacher that's like excited as well, because it definitely helps going in, not by yourself. Another tip that we really like is we have an agenda, and it is a Word document, and on one page, there's one topic. So on the first page of the agenda, it's trainings, upcoming trainings. On the second page, this is like in a Word doc, so I don't change it. AT questions and interviews. On the third page, it's AT questions during evaluation. So we can just like pull out your agenda and be like, oh, the next thing on the agenda is to talk about trainings. You know, it's like, I'm not making this up. It's the agenda. I'm just going to follow it. You know, and you're like, oh, the agenda says we should talk about AT questions on interviews. Yes. How is that going? So definitely do that. And then one of our other favorite tips is we'll take in your guys' book and we'll be like, you know, I was rereading this and they say that we should like maybe do this. The authors are saying we should do it. So that helps, because then it's like, we're not coming up with these ideas, we're using guidance. So it just helps it, like when you go in and you're saying the same things over again, it can help to have some supports behind you to help you feel empowered as well. And like I said, we've never had nothing but good feedback, good reception, looking for those little wins, like Jeanna said, you know, having those meetings be scheduled without us having to do anything, it really helped. And bringing it up like that, I think keeping it on the radar, so they're hearing assistive technology, AAC, over and over again every month, it really can help set the stage for them to find it important. And we also talk about how, you know, there are all these formal ways to talk about assistive technology, but it can be really simple ways too. When you're going in the classroom, just say, hey, you know, I thought there were kids in here using AAC. I'd love to see that. Where is it? You know, you're an admin, don't need to know individual students or what they're individually using, just knowing that there might be some assistive technology equipment in that classroom is enough, because then they can ask questions about it and just bring it up when they're just dropping into a classroom to observe. It can be really informal things too, and that can have as good of an impact as those more formal measures as well.
For sure. All right, so now we're going to enter into another prong of our 3-year approach with families and how we're empowering our families who have AAC users.
All right, and we really like looking at our families, right? Because we want equipment and strategies to be incorporated throughout the student's day. So family members need knowledge not only in the upkeep, but they also need it in the ongoing use of the device to develop it over time.
So things that we had done in the past is Maggie and I were pretty consistent with sending home the AAC carryover practice for all of the AAC users that we saw for direct therapy. We would also do individual AAC trainings anytime that a family felt like they wanted one, or anytime, especially whenever a new device had been funded. We would do phone calls, emails, notes home to stay in touch and keep up with everything going on. And then we also do data logging visuals that we send home quarterly. But we wanted to increase our support for our families. So
some of the things that we're now doing is we started a family support network, and then we have a family night where we do some make and takes component there. So our AAC Family Support Network, it's just a simple idea where we are connecting families to other families, because while we can share ideas, we can share strategies, we can share things that we've read about or we've seen or we've heard other people share, we can't give information from that lived experience. So one of the jobs for us is, we love this quote, it's from Building Capacity and AAC, a person-centered approach to supporting participation by people with complex communication needs. It was an article from 2019, but this came up. It's our job as professionals to help families connect with other AAC families, whether it's online or in person. So we definitely saw that as a place where we could grow. So the contact list, it's just parents and families that have had a child go through the AAC process that felt comfortable sharing their contact information that we can then give to parents. And we do this typically if like we hear a parent expressing that they're really struggling with some component that they're like not sure how to incorporate it at home. So the families that have agreed to be on this list, we had them sign a general release form, just one from our department that we just kind of structured to fit. And then after we, if and when we do share their information with another family, we let them know, hey, you know, you might be expecting you might get an email or a phone call from a family, and we don't give out personal information. We just say, hey, be aware they might reach out to you. The parents that have asked that we've asked to be on this have been great about it. And it's just another way to connect families.
And then the other thing that we are doing is we had been doing family activity nights where we had families come in and we just help support use of the AC in the home for different activities. We had done this for a couple of years, but then once we saw this quote from Gayl Van Tatenhove, we decided to revamp it. So if you're asking parents to do specific tasks, make sure that they have access to those materials needed at home. And so we developed that make it take portion of it so that they have the materials then at home to be able to continue it. So at these family activity nights, parents come and actually we've started having siblings come too, which has been great. For our AC users to get that whole family involvement. And so we talk about and review core and fringe terminology because they're going to be seeing this in resources that come home on social media. This terminology is used a lot and during IEPs and stuff. So we wanted them to know what this terminology means. We demonstrate different types of communication functions. And we really focus though the most of the night on what is aided language input and practicing providing it. We have videos of AC users and their families at home doing the activity. That's our topic of the night. And then of course we have that make and take portion of it so that they have their materials to go home with. And one good thing about this to kind of tie in our administrators again, our administrator, he came to a couple of these family activity nights when we were first starting them up and helped support us, helped us kind of work through kinks in the beginning of like things to think about from his previous experience and what we would want to kind of keep in mind when developing this and getting it out and about and I'm losing my words, but getting it rolling. So he was a great support during that time as well. But this is just a look of our PowerPoint and how we look at different words that we can use for different communication functions and have that focus on activities that they're already doing at home, because we don't want it to be something new or something additional, especially right now. I don't think we can handle that. And so we take activities that they're probably already doing at home and then just show them how to incorporate that AC naturally into that activity. So for our reading one, they come, they get a book, we show them how to highlight the words to give them that visual cue that they should be providing aided language input for that repeated core word that's there. And then we have a game night one that we do as well, and they get to iron on a manual communication board onto a pillowcase, because who doesn't like to snuggle up with a pillow while you're playing a board game or something, and then being able to have that communication access to it everywhere and available.
And then we also share some family resources here that parents can get access to, but through social media, because we all know we are on social media. It's a great way to connect. And then just, Jeanna, I wanted to reference back to how you brought up how some administrators were coming at the beginning of this. That makes me think back to Gayl Penny when you did your presentation a couple of weeks ago. You said if there's like a way to like have your administrators help you solve a problem, that can be a real good way to bring them in and to make them like see the importance of it and want to help you solve that problem. So I think that was a great way. Like it was like, we're, you know, this is something new and we feel like we probably need some help to get it started. So definitely they rose, you know, to that, wanted to help us solve that problem. So it's a great way to create that collaborative relationship.
And then empowerment too,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
they're taking part. Okay, so now we're going to go into school teams and how we're increasing school team involvement.
So like Jeanna brought up earlier, we know that we're not going out of school with all of this great, wonderful knowledge. We might get a class here or there, it might be embedded into some, but we really we need experience after we graduate. We need ongoing training about assistive technology in order to feel comfortable and prepared to do it. So thinking through that, we definitely knew that we wanted to change some of the supports that we were doing to more effectively address this ongoing need.
So things that we had been doing we would have our AC reps come in and do trainings throughout the year, every year. We would do individual team trainings whenever a new device got funded, or just kind of usually at the beginning of the year, we're pretty busy with these because kids are getting new teachers. And so we would go in and train that new team that they have on that AEC system. We really try to have as active as the school presence as we can, with especially with the schools that we're providing direct therapy to different students with, and just letting the special educators, related service personnel, even the administration there know who we are, putting a face with the name, and that we are available to help with any kind of assistive technology needs. We have emails to update about trainings and equipment, but we felt like we weren't doing enough. There's always more. Anytime that you look at something, you can reevaluate it and know that there's something that you can tweak and do more. So we really felt like, as Maggie said, that we know as adults, we need that continuing ongoing education. We felt like we weren't providing enough of that ongoing piece of it. We also realized that we were not doing enough coaching and support to our teams, and that we needed to revamp that, and that we weren't reaching our teams in the most effective way. So we really needed to reassess, reevaluate, and go from there and see what we needed to change.
So from that, here are some of the things that we're doing. We have a make and take training. We are doing a couple different cohorts, so doing that ongoing piece. We do something fun called Chat at Basque. We are doing some coaching in the classroom. And then we started a social media presence to connect with our team. So we're going to go into each of those areas.
So with our make and take, or material trainings, as we call them, the reason that we did these was similar to why we changed our family activity night into a make and take portion as well, is to increase the likelihood that your participants will implement what you train them to do. You need to provide them with the tools that they need to implement back in their own setting. And I don't know about you guys, but Maggie and I discuss this all the time. We'll go to a training, we'll hear about all these great things, and we'll write down where we're supposed to go and do them or get those materials. But then you come back and you've missed out on therapy. Your schedule is bogged down. You just don't have time to then print off and make this cool stuff that you learned about. So it gets pushed back to the back burner. So we wanted to change that. And we really wanted to make trainings that we were providing more active for our participants, so that they weren't passive participants, but they were active participants in the trainings. So we developed these make and take trainings. So we have 4 topics, and we do treat it as a series. So they can come to just one if they want, but if not, they can come to all 4. And again, it's a series, so it's providing that ongoing support for them. And we talk about visual supports. We have one that talks all about communication, and then we do reading and writing as well. And there's hands-on material making during all of these. So they are for a year, and we provide them every year. So because we do have, new teachers coming in, or teachers you're able to make it to one the year, but maybe not all of them. So we do provide them every year. We're able to have them at our hub. And this was something that kind of shocked us, Maggie, at the beginning of the year, when we were thinking about trainings and what we could do remotely and what we had to change. And this is really one that needs to be an in-person one because of the benefits and how the training is designed, where we give information and then we stop for a make and take session through it. And we do that repeatedly throughout the day. We really need to have that in-person time with them to show them how to make the materials, and then also just to be able to have that good discussion and answer questions. And we were kind of thinking about not providing these this year because with everything that's going on, but our administrator was like, no. He's like, people look for these trainings. These are very popular. He's like, you have to provide them. He's like, people are going to want these this year. And he's like, we'll do whatever we have to do to make sure that it happens safely, but we need to definitely definitely have them on the agenda. And so that's, again, one of those little wins that's like, oh, okay, we'll figure it out then. And we've been able to have one so far, and it's on a definitely smaller scale than what you're seeing in these pictures. We had to take away some elements. We usually have people eating during them, can't have that. But we're still able to have them, and just knowing that support. And then also we had another administrator who wasn't a part of our co-op, but he's very aware of our trainings and what we provide. He's had other staff go to him, and one staff wasn't able to make it because they had too many people out that day. But he's like, no, they have them all year. He was knowledgeable. He knew that It's like, I know that they have them all year. He's like, they'll have another one. He's like, just get the date of it. And he's like, we'll make sure that you get to it. He valued like our trainings and knew that they were effective for his staff and beneficial. And so there's, again, just another small win.
About it every month. He hears it constantly. We're always telling him about it. That's where it paid off, all that talking.
Yeah.
You know, you're calling those small wins, but those are not small wins. Those are enormous wins. Congratulations.
Thank you. So there's our make and take trainings kind of in a nutshell. We do them we make sure that whenever we're providing the content, that's for a wide range of grades, for all the grades that we have within our co-op. So from pre-K to transition age, all of our ages, disciplines, we make sure that we have examples that are appropriate for all of them, as well as the materials that we're providing them to make and take are appropriate for all ages. They are 4 times a year. They're full or half days when we do them. And the feedback that we get from them is so great. I mean, the biggest takeaway was having the materials to take home and know how to use them. So not just the knowledge, not just the material, but both of them together is crucial, we have found. When we designed these trainings, we did a staff needs assessment and really looked at what our staff wanted, and we're solving problems that they have here and now, so that they're going back and they're immediately able to solve a problem and use the materials. And here's just a graph showing, again, that all of our participants said that it helped them, it had a positive impact on their students' education and their communication, and that they've used the materials that they walked away with.
All right, so 2 more things that we've been doing are more of our cohorts. We have this Power AAC cohort, and we got this information from the ATIA conference in 2018. There was a training with Patton and Gayl Van Tatenhove, and they created these Power AAC modules. These are great because they're all online. The materials are ready to go. I feel like the doing part, like when you are doing a training, that's the fun part. That's the easy part. That's the part where you're connecting. It's the prepping part that can really stop you in your tracks. So whenever you can find materials that are there and you can just tweak to meet your needs are great. So we developed this kind of to be a professional learning community, because we know that is a good way to learn from each other and to have these good conversations and to grow your skills. So we meet once a month. So we're doing this with the Power AAC cohort, and you see here we are meeting, and then we have, we've adapted this little worksheet from the Assistive Technology Trainer's Handbook, and it's just a way for us to go through and think about, okay, here's what information is from the module, you know, what's our takeaway? What are we gonna try to apply to our practice over this next month? And then every time we check in with each other, we're able to say, okay, how did you guys do on your planning worksheet? Or, you know, I'm able, like we do it too, so we're like, okay, this is where we did really good. This is where we kind of fell this month. What's also great about this is that we were doing this last year and we were able to seamlessly move it to virtual, and we've been doing it virtual this year. So we're still able to have this connection and this time to learn online. We don't have to worry about meeting in person.
Mm-hmm. And then something new that we developed this year that goes along with why we developed the Power AC was we did a Master PAL. So we had a lot of people who had attended our Power AC in the last 2 years, and they were hungry for more and kept wanting to grow their skills and being able to work with our AC users. And so we decided to do another cohort to kind of extend off of the Power AC one, and it's the Master PAL cohort. So if you're not familiar with it, it's the Master PAL training series that was developed by Tabby Jones-Weebler, and she graciously put all of this information and all of her materials that she developed onto Practical AC, which is absolutely wonderful. So again, working smarter, not harder. It's a very well-designed training series to help develop your skills as a good communication partner, not only to AAC users we've been finding, but to most of our kids that have special needs. So we love this series. It's our first year doing it. But so far we absolutely love it. We do it in a flip style, just like with the Power AC, where Maggie and I have actually been recording the different modules and kind of working through them and talking and sharing our stories. They watch that and then they come and we have a discussion related to that material that we do on a monthly basis as well. And so our modules are up on YouTube as well. What?
And I said, I'm sorry, easily to do virtually.
Yes, super easy virtual. And we're finding that participants like it because you don't have to miss like the last couple kids of therapy in order to come to our Basque Hub to do it. They're able to just immediately see all of their kids and then participate in the cohort.
All right, something else we've done is we call it our chat. We like our little acronym. So this is our chat. And we've done this specifically for SLPs because we're SLPs. So we do this as a way to connect. So we collaborate, we give how-tos of equipment, we do article reviews, we network. But what we are really finding that we're using this for is a way to kind of increase everyone's knowledge of AAC to help increase those finders. So that way, when all of our SLPs are going back, they will be, knowledgeable and having AAC on the forefront of their minds. But also a lot of SLPs kind of roll into that emergent leader role because they have kind of some background in it and they have some passion for it sometimes. So we also then use this as a time to talk about, well, oh, you know what? That is a good question. Have you talked to your administrators about that? If you would meet with your administrators, it could be really good to talk to them about these concerns. So we're starting to try to pass that torch off to them to be like, hey, you should be, getting your administrators to be your allies because we don't always get to work with a lot of our district administrators. We're working with our cooperative administrators. So it's a way to try to help influence that as well for our districts.
All right, so then we talked earlier about the coaching piece and that we definitely wanted to improve that because you see a lot of growth. Research has shown that you will see more growth in using the knowledge that they're trained on if you provide that ongoing coaching support to a team. So we developed this classroom in action, and last year was our first year with it, and we absolutely love it. For years before Maggie joined us, I was talking to the previous AC specialist that we had and talking about we need to get these manual communication boards and universal design AC into our pre-K rooms, and this just provided us with that platform to start doing that. And so it is for our pre-K rooms only, and it's a way for us to get AC in there. We provide that coaching and ongoing team support. This is a look at kind of our flyer, and it's pretty hefty when you look at it, but that's for a reason, is because we really want to show that it's going to be a commitment between us and between whoever the team is when they sign up for it. So we will be providing that ongoing coaching support. We'll be providing materials and like training and everything, but they also have to follow through with everything that we say, with what we train them on, actually implementing it. There's videos to watch. We've designed this program around that Tell Me program for AC in the preschool classroom by Dr. Carol Zangari and Lori Wise. And so our focus is really on providing and embedding those AC supports for communication and core word learning throughout the day, as well as reading and writing. So this is like a platform for us to also really be getting at that literacy and a literacy exposure and instruction throughout the day, even for our students with special needs at those early stages, because they need it right from the beginning. And so this again just develops that great platform for us. The coaching aspect we have absolutely loved. We focus on aided language input. We focus on access to AC whenever we're doing this, as well as core vocabulary, and then that reading and writing piece as well. And we've gotten great feedback from the teams that have participated that it really did kind of hone in, because we were able to really focus on their class and solving problems that they had in their classroom.
All right, and here's just some examples of how it looks in action. All right, okay, social media. This has been a really nice way to connect with our teams always, but now during this time of social distancing, it has been great for us. Learning on the demand and on the go are becoming the norm. One sure way to connect with your school teams is to provide that access for on-demand trainings when it's needed. So we have a YouTube channel, we started an Instagram account. This is also a great way for our administrator to connect with us too. Just yesterday when I was chatting with him, he was like, I've been looking at all the cool things you guys have been doing on Instagram. That's really nice and neat. So it's another way to have your admin see some of the things that you're doing and to make them feel invested, and then they can share that information. He has shared that at an admin meeting, like a big regional one, and he was like, shared that part of my team is doing, social media stuff. So that's been a nice way for him to brag on the way he's helping us. So definitely think about this. It's really helpful.
And we also like to use our YouTube videos to help empower our school teams to take a little bit more ownership over that AT process. We do a lot of how-to videos and how to access different resources. So anything that we frequently get asked questions about, we try to do YouTube videos about so that we can just refer them to the YouTube video. And again, it just empowers them a little bit more and has them take some more ownership.
All right, so for us looking forward, next steps, and we'll go fast here, guys, we only have a few minutes, so we'll go kind of quick here, but keep at it. It can be, especially this year, there were some days where we were like, we're not really sure what to do next, but just keep at it. Look for the little wins, or like Gayl said, they are big wins, so keep that in mind. Adjust areas to that distance platform to make things easy so that you can keep up with the stuff that you have started. So that's why we have some more cohorts going on, adding in more virtual trainings. And then one of the things that we really think a lot about is how to add in some more stories from people who use AAC. We love this quote that we got from ATIA last year from Marlene Cummings. You can't always information your way out of attitudes, but you may be able to story your way out of attitudes. So getting, perspective of people who use AAC, people who use assistive technology, and sharing information that way.
Okay. So again, we talked about looking for those little wins. So your boss telling you to, again, provide those trainings that people are going to look for them, to carry over those monthly meetings like we talked about, to be allowing staff time to attend our trainings. We look at that as a little win too, that they're seeing the value of our trainings and giving staff that professional time to come to our trainings and get that information, or asking us to also do a training, like whenever they have an institute day, to come and do a small training for a few of their teachers as well. So those are all wins that we see. When our admin register for our trainings, our cohorts, sometimes they don't always get the time to follow through, but the fact that they're registering and, making that first step, we look at that as a little win as well. And then reaching out to us to further increase our psych's knowledge of assistive technology as well. Here in Illinois, in a couple of years ago, we had some new information that had to be filled out on our IEPs that we have. And so making our psychs just more knowledgeable of kind of how that wording goes for assistive technology and equipment that we have that they may want, they've never considered before, but now that they know about it, they may want to look into for students and how to reference that material. As Maggie said, positively commenting on our social media content that we produce, and then looking forward to being able to show our positive assistive technology growth that we've had at board meetings and regional meetings that they have as well.
All right, takeaway is this takes time to develop. It takes time to mature. Keep at it, don't give up. You'll get there. Look for the little wins that turn into big wins, and keep at it.
All right, so some next steps that we have is, as we mentioned, we did the quiet self-evaluation matrix when we were first doing this. And again, be honest with yourself and really look at your program or your school district and what you can do to help further improve it. Go to the NATE network. There's so much good information on the NATE network that you can access. Look to your state for guidance. We mentioned that we have that state assistive technology manual that we can look for. So look to your state. You may have something similar. Definitely think long-term. Don't burn yourself out. Don't try to go too fast, too hard. always remember to think smarter, not harder. So when we talked about the cohorts and using information and trainings that are already out there, definitely do that. Use resources that you have at your hands to be able to implement some of these things and not have to put so much of a burden on yourself. Content from AAC users and families. Again, we're never going to have that experience. We're not AAC users ourselves. We're not parents of AAC users, so we're never going to have that experience. But going to blogs, going to conference sessions of AAC users, and everything, and getting that perspective will help you further improve your services that you're providing and how you're working with your families as well.
Mhm.
And then, of course, leading the way to excellent in AT services will be your Bible, essentially, for this. So use it, reference it, continue to use it and reference it, highlight it, tab it, everything you need to do. It will definitely give you some very good guidance. And then at the NATE network, I believe you can also get that assistive technology teams, many ways to do it well, and the assistive technology trainer's handbook. Yes, and you can print them off for free, I believe, right, Maggie?
You can print them off for free, and if you're a member, you get these sent to you in the mail. So either way.
Yeah. Okay. And now,
All right.
so we can't do a
Yeah,
poll, but if you would like
No.
to share, oh, and we're right at our time. We would love to
Yes.
hear what your biggest takeaway is or any questions that you have. If you would want to put them into the chat, we would love to hear from you. And then also in regard to the tell me, if you, I know Maggie and I both responded, but also on our YouTube channel, we have a couple of videos where we show what's in our kits if you're interested in that. And then of course, as Maggie said, we have that blog post too, talking about it. But thank you guys all so much for attending.
Yeah,
We
thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.
And then this is our information where you can connect with us and get a hold of us if you think of something later and would like to get in touch.
Great. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
yes.
Yes, thank you. Good point. Yes. 18 interviews. Yep.
We do charge people for attending the make and takes. Depending on the make and take it either ranges from $5 to $10, and that just covers our costs. We do lots of giveaways and prizes, but then also the materials that they walk away with. So there's just a small charge. And then our program does help us provide, we have a budget for that as well for professional development. So some of that goes into it as well. So just asking your administrators, again, we didn't even know about that funding until we talked to our administrator about it.
And another question came up, are we serving AT IEP minutes too? Not usually. We do AAC minutes, but so specific to AAC, we do some minutes. It's a team decision. Overall, assistive technology, we usually are just giving consults and requests for students' assistance there. Oh, Carolyn.
I love the fangirly, thanks.
Yeah, the AAC family nights have been great, and we have been able to do one virtually. We're still trying to figure out the make and take part of that, doing it virtually, but baby steps. So we kind of had to plan, redo. So we have took them virtual, and that was great as well.
I'm glad that you thought some of the ideas were very practical. That's what we go for. Easy to use and implement and everything. So thank you.
Yes, well, I feel like being honest, it does, because, you know, when you go in and you read something like you should be, you know, getting your admin on board, it's like, that sounds scary. So talking about it, it helps to make it feel more doable.
Sure.
Great.
Oh, thank you.
And thanks again, Penny and Gayl, for helping us along with our journey and being here today and giving us all this great information to take back to our districts and settings. And
well, thank you. It was as delightful as I knew it would be. I love hearing you talk, and I love your enthusiasm.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, ladies. I think that is going to end our session for today. I appreciate all of the great information.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good afternoon.
Thanks, you too.